Hello and welcome back to another episode of Kadena's Grantee Spotlight, where we dive into the details of projects building in the Kadena ecosystem. Today, I am talking to Afonso from the KDSwap team. Afonso, it would be great if you would introduce yourself.
Hey, thanks, Joel. Hi, everyone. I guess most people watching this already know me from the Kadena uh, ecosystem. Uh, I started out as a community manager for KDL at the time, and then I kind of progressed into also being community manager and kind of operation lead for KDSwap. And eventually, I started, making developing code for KDSwap. I graduated as a mechanical engineer with a master's in automation, which is kind of puts me in a unique position, like in terms of people developing on Kadena. Not a lot of people that I know have come from this kind of hardware side, which is kind of cool in a way. I have some perspective that they don't, and I have a lot of other things that I don't know how to do that they help me with, like other packed developers and people in the space. And so, yeah, I worked as a mechanical engineer for about 5 years before realizing that that wouldn't cut it in Portugal. And then I kind of moved into the crypto space and, trying to learn as much as I could about blockchain, about smart contracts and how to, kind of make a living out of it. And yeah, eventually I found Kadena, which I really fell in love with in terms of, you know, POW blockchain that you can kind of do smart
I
contracts
was
on.
going to
You can,
say, with your proximity to starting out with hardware engineering, is that part of why you love proof of work in Kadena?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like initially you learn about Bitcoin, right? And it's it's a very strange and weird concept, kind of alien concept. But when you get into it and understand what it is, then you start branching out all of these other blockchains. Ethereum, of course, it's the second thing you know of, and then it was proof of work back then when I discovered Ethereum. But then I came across Kadena, and I knew Ethereum was gonna go to proof of stake. Kind of bummed me out, But yeah, then I found out Kadena. I started looking into Pact, starting to get a gist of what it was, and it really caused an impression on me that you could actually build stuff on a POW and with this different concept with Pact and Chainweb, and I really liked it. So I got involved with KD Launch at the time, just as an investor to start with. So actually, I got into the IDO without even working for the team. I got lucky, and then yeah, I started talking to the founders, starting offering my unsolicited suggestions and advice, and they were really cool. They liked it, and they offered me a job as a community manager. And then as I said before, I started to kind of develop more into a developing role, so to speak. And yeah, eventually we got to this point where um, KDL and KDSwap were too big of a separate projects to kind of run together, and the original team wanted to focus more on the KD Labs and Kadena names kind of development. And I really liked KDSwap, and I really wanted KDSwap to grow and continue and kind of branch out in a different way. And so I kind of took it over and reached out to you guys. We talked about the grants and what was possible there. And so yeah, now I'm leading KDSwap with my buddy Fernando on the legal side. And yeah,
Love it. Love it. Thanks for that. And for anyone not familiar with the history of KD Labs, we're here to talk about KD Swap, obviously, but maybe you could just give a quick overview for those unfamiliar of what KD Launch was and where it sits today, if it's if it's been sunset or what you guys are up to with KD Launch.
yeah, absolutely. So KD Launch started as the first kind of launch pad on Kadena. There were these two upcoming launch pads. It was KD Labs and at the time iPercent as well. I really at the time really liked the simplicity and straightforwardness of KD launch, and so I kind of took the KD launch side, and the team. I mean, they're a small team of two at the time. Then they branched out into a couple more, and so it was a launchpad. I think I didn't even mention this, but it was a launchpad. So basically, a project where you hold the launchpad token, and you are able to invest in new projects coming in on the ecosystem of that launchpad. So in this case, it was on Kadena, of course. And yeah, we launched a bunch of projects in the early days. Some more successful than others, of course. Now at this moment, there's not a lot of projects being launched, but the K launch team is still actively working on KDL. I'm a little bit now stepped I stepped back from the project to focus on KDSwap, but they are still going at it. They're still developing and we're waiting on new exciting projects to launch on Kadena.
Nice. Love it. And moving on to KDSwap, you talked a little bit about it, but would love to understand, what about Kadena and, having a DEX on proof of work drove you, to want to pick up KDSwap and transition into, a leadership role there and grow KDSwap long term?
Yeah, it's really that I really want to stay in Kadena. I really kind of grew attached to KDSwap. It was like my my first project where I was really involved, and I helped build and helped develop. And I really do believe that with Pact, we can do things that we cannot do anywhere else. And so, because of this, I simply felt that it was the right move for me and for KDSwap and for the former team as well to do this to this kind of split and we go into a different direction because we had like a more business minded idea for KDSwap, which I think comes from my previous kind of background on working in the industry. So I started working for a for this software slash hardware company that would have lots of clients, and when you work on a company, it was not a big company, but it was very of course revenue driven,
Yeah.
and I think it's some of this perspective is missing on a lot of crypto projects. So this was kind of my idea. Okay, let's take this product that is good. KDSwap is a good product. It works, but it's definitely not business oriented, right?
Yeah.
And so our idea was like, how can we make it so? How can we turn this good technological piece and make it so that we can keep developing and keep generating revenue so we can keep working on it and make it bigger. And of course, we were only, you know, uh, willing to do that because it's built on Kadena with Pact, which I'm very comfortable with and familiar with, and that I
Yeah.
like to work with, and also that I know allows me to build legally compliant code. Uh, I wouldn't be very comfortable doing this with Solidity, for example, because exploits happen when you don't know they can happen. It's not that you cannot have exploits unpacked; you can, but uh, it's easier to prevent against those with packed and
Right.
easier to understand where they're coming from.
Love that. Let's dial back to revenue. And for anyone unfamiliar with a traditional DEX business model, it might be helpful if you touch on KD Swap's revenue model. How you guys plan to generate revenue. I know you mentioned in the past some exciting advancements on the Mika side, and assisting clients in that, or assisting assets on that side. But perhaps you can just touch on that and highlight KD Swap's plan to begin monetizing and generating revenue.
Of course. Um, so I think there's a couple of ways you can think of how to generate revenue on the DEX. The most common one that I see used on a lot of DEX is kind of build products around the main product of your DEX. So your main product is the swapping tools, right? You have two tokens that you can swap for each other. This is what a DEX essentially is. Like it started with Uniswap, and it's still it's all Uniswap does, right? You can have one token and swap it for another. But most DEXs don't generate revenue around this part of their DEX, so they build tools around it to generate hype and revenue with it. So they can either build staking platforms and make a revenue share agreement with a project that lists their token on the staking app, or they can create these NFT projects where people are able to like PancakeSwap has some of these where you can actually buy your NFTs for to show as a social like kind of flag or whatever, and many other like these kind of gimmicks that you can do, which is fine. And we also plan to have these other tools that you can use and charge a small fee for them. But I think the main focus of our product should be to monetize your focus on the project. And in this case, is the swapping. And I don't see any DEX doing that because there's a standard fee on the liquidity trading fees, and it's very hard to deviate because then you're just charging more than anyone else. And this is the fee always goes to the liquidity pool providers, right? So it doesn't go to the DEX itself. So it's very hard to build a business around this, right? If you're not generating revenue with your main uh, kind of tool, it's very hard. So we thought about this, and I mean, before we even took on the challenge of getting KDSwap, we spent hours thinking how we could use this simple DEX tool, the swapping, to generate revenue, but not taking out of the liquidity providers, because then you won't have clients, you won't have volume, you won't have liquidity, right? And we came up with this idea and solution uh, around this. We called it twin pools, but it's essentially is a way to give power to the users putting liquidity in and not to the projects. So if you think about it, when a project lists on KDSwap, they they put a big chunk of money into the liquidity because they want the trading to be healthy, right? You don't want to have like $100 trade to swing the price by 10%. So they put in a big chunk of money, and these tokens, like for the most part and for the longest time, won't come out of the liquidity pool. And the project themselves, they're not interested in benefiting from the trading fees that are there, right? So basically, the trading fees are going to waste because they're just staying there and no one is collecting them.
Right.
So our idea and our concept was to create these twin pools that essentially maintain the ratio between the tokens inside, but only one of them gets the fees generated from the trading. What this means is like if you imagine a protocol that puts in a certain amount of liquidity into the pool, and let's say then users put in a quarter of that. So the protocol owns 75% of the pool, and users own 25%. With this new enhanced liquidity pool strategy, the user actually gets like 4x in revenue from trading fees. Of course, from this, what we plan is to take a small amount. So from the 0.3% of the fee, we will take 0.5 or 0.05 in this case, so that the users still are earning much more than if they were in the old system, so to speak. But we are also be able to generate some revenue for ourselves and to keep developing the DEX and keep building new exciting stuff, right? So I think this is a very good concept. It's very unique, and I've never seen this done anywhere, and so I'm pretty excited to release this. And I think it will benefit both the projects themselves because they don't care about the fees; they care about people joining and putting liquidity in and trading, right? It will obviously benefit the liquidity providers other than the protocols because they will get more fees, and so it will kind of combat the impermanent loss. And of course, it will benefit us that we can generate some revenue and keep on building and making KDSwap more successful and grow and offer a lot more products. So this is kind of the starting point for the taking over of the DEX.
That's awesome. I love it. That's great. I'm curious to. I know you and I have talked about it in the past a while, but for the listeners, talk a little bit of what you guys are doing on the compliance side over in Europe, if you will.
Yeah. So I cannot talk a lot about that because it's legal stuff. And first of all, I'm not a legal guy. But even if I was, and I've tried to squeeze as much as I can from Fernando, but it tells me in legal, the least you talk about, the better, because you don't want to
Fair
talk
enough.
about it until it's done,
Fair enough.
because then you can get in trouble before it's even done. You don't want to say we're doing this, and that's bad for what you're trying to accomplish. So let's talk a little bit more on broader terms. I would say we know there's a MiCA agreement in Europe, right? And this what this entails is that for all projects that are Europe based, um, you have to follow these rules. You have to read this major document and follow the rules that they have there, which are pretty non-controversial. I would say it's not like they're completely shutting down crypto and blockchain, which was why we also wanted to take over. Um, but it does mean that you have to spend a lot of time going back and forth with people in charge, right? Because it's new. No one does it yet because it's just starting now at the end of the year, uh, and so it will take time. But in the end, I think it's the only way for a DEX or any DeFi app to exist. You have to follow the rules, otherwise it just gets shut down. You get sued and you get
Right.
buried alive. But it's very exciting to be in this kind of middle step between having this completely random crypto project and being the like very legitimate and being one of the first, if not the first, to do it. um, and yeah, work has been done, but it's kind of a shadow work that you cannot see until it's done. You
Yeah.
cannot see anything, and it takes time because you send an email to a European agency,
Yeah.
you don't get a reply the next day or the next
Red
week.
tape takes a long time to navigate.
Yeah, and especially when they don't know what to say to you because they don't know it themselves, and so they have to study and go investigate, and it's a back and forth. It takes some patience, I would say, for sure.
Makes sense. No, thank you for that. Any any unique strategies you guys are looking at deploying to drive, you know, KPIs, whether that's TVL or more wallets, more users, et cetera, to KDSwap? And I'll make this a two-pronged question. Anything you think the Kadena team itself, whether that be marketing, biz dev, engineering, is there anything you think our team could be doing that we haven't done to date to further help you guys and further drive growth?
Well, starting on the second part, what Kadena can do, um, I don't know. It's very hard. It's very hard to answer a question like that because um, I've never put myself into those shoes, or I mean, I have put myself in those shoes, but I always thought this is hard, man. What would I do? Um, because on the one side, you are very like how do you call it? You're very enslaved by the token price, where all of the metrics for success are um, measured by token price. But on the other hand, we see a lot of projects that are also bound by the same rules and they are successful, and the token also goes up. And so I don't know. I don't see behind the scenes. No? I don't know if the strategies are being put in place or not. What I can say is this, and I actually had an AMA with our most recent partners, Crank. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and I did talk about what I would do if I was in Kadena place. Like if I had to devise a go-to-market strategy, knowing that I am not a marketing guy, but I would probably try to focus on a niche because these days it's very hard to compete with Ethereum. It's very hard to try to be the next Ethereum, and I don't think that should be the goal of a layer one, that it's, um, whatever whatever the market cap for Kadena is, it's uh, much lower than Ethereum, right? And the reason I say this is Ethereum has an industry setup that is not going to go away. So the validators, the liquid stakers, all of these and these new developments with actively validated services like Eigenlayer and all of these, this is not going to go away, and for good reason. It's good that it's not going to go away, because actually it's what drives more people to come in and then try to deviate. And when they try to deviate, I think what they look for is a niche, because you don't want to look for an alternative to Ethereum when Ethereum is so big. You want to look for something that offers something slightly different, and we know Kadena offers that, right? We as developers and as people being around Kadena for so long, we know what is different. And so my kind of off the bat thought was like, what if Kadena presented itself as a DPIN and RWA chain, where, okay, come here and we'll offer you, some exposure to our project. With, if it's specifically DPIN and RWA, will offer some exposure. We'll put you in contact with people that know about this. We'll, go to whatever conferences with you and whatnot. And I think this would be good for me. As KDSwap is a DEX, so we're a tool. We're not the end goal. We are not like the project that will blow anyone's minds. And so, for us, what we need from Kadena is what you guys give us: support with the grant, support with technical support, contacts with other projects, contacts with outside projects. That's all there, and I can't complain about that. This is more of a, it's more of a high level
Yeah.
approach that I would do if I was in charge. Maybe luckily I'm not in charge. I don't know, because maybe that's not the way. It's just a random thought. And this is the second one. The first one is about what KDSwap plans to do in terms of getting some exposure, right?
Yeah.
I think that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at the moment, we're not going too big, because we don't want to say, look at our amazing product, and it's the same as it was 1 year ago. So we're really developing on we're really focusing on development, and making it right to start with. And then once things start coming out, then we will focus on kind of spreading the word. Of course, again, I'm not the marketing guy. We hired a team for that. We partnered with Sphere Elephant for this, and they're actually, I kind of have to apologize to them, because they're always asking me for stuff, and I say, wait, we cannot do that now, because I'm still in the development process, and I don't want to push too early. But when we're ready, they have this all of this like zilly stuff and contests and partnerships, and that we're ready to roll out. But it takes some time, especially because this transition process was much harder for me than I thought it would be. Um, it's one thing to write contracts; it's another thing to kind of go over everything in terms of the technologies, back end, front end, services and everything running. And we had a couple of issues along the way that it took me some time to resolve, because I needed to learn from scratch some of the stuff that I wasn't aware of. But it's part of the deal when you take over something.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. All right. Speaking of the product, I know you talked a little bit about the twin pools that you guys are working on. What else are you guys working on? Is there more that you could highlight for those listening? If we fast forward, let's say 12 months from now, what products and features do you envision users being able to dive into with KDSwap?
Yeah. So the second thing I'm really excited about, besides the twin liquidity pool, is kind of this transformation of KDS token itself, which is right now like a simple token, and that offers you like some staking opportunities, offers you, yeah, but it's so boring, it's so cliche, everything has been done before, and I want to turn it into a V token model where people can actually vote with the token and can actually impact what you do on KDSwap. This is not going to happen at first. The first, we'll just make the switch to the V token model and to the staking pools and how you earn staking rewards. Um, because the staking pools we have now, the V1, if you want to, are very simplistic and were very useful to start with. But I think now we can kind of branch out and do it more in a way like they do it on PancakeSwap, where the rewards are not like fixed for 1 year or fixed for 6 months. It's actually dependent on how many people are staking, and eventually dependent how you vote for tokens to be added to the pools or to the staking app. So this is one of the things I'm really excited about. Another thing that I really want to do, and that I hope it brings a lot of new users, is to kind of redo the whole UX UI thing. Um, Again, it's not bad as it is now, but it's too simple, and it offers no kind of you cannot interact with it. No personalization whatsoever. And so I want users to be able to kind of see their statistics, like trading volume, highest P&L for the last 2 months, whatever. I want to offer some unique visualization of how you use the DEX itself, and also offer some kind of cool competitions, like leaderboard for traders, where if you get the high spot, you get some KDS as reward. To incentivize a little bit of trading, but also some uh, amicable back and forth between people. So, I got a much higher P&L than you. You suck at trading, and we know we have people who will do that in this community, in Kadena community. Some of them are very rabid people, so they will probably do that. Yeah, so this I'm very excited about. And lastly, one thing that actually we haven't talked about yet, or we didn't even put it on the roadmap, or it's not part of the grant program. It's something we're doing with Crank. So they are going to list on KDSwap, and this hasn't been announced yet, but I guess it will be soon. And also we have
Alpha time.
some. Sorry.
Alpha time.
No, but I guess maybe by the time this airs, it's already announced, and we'll have this unique feature that it's not out yet. And I cannot say that because this will probably not be announced, but we'll have a unique feature, a new feature on the DEX that will, I'm guessing, will attract a lot of TVL for sure. People will be happy to stake or to add liquidity for Crank. Yeah, more news on that soon. I guess we need to follow procedure, otherwise my marketing team kind of leaves me.
No, that's super exciting. That's awesome. And I'm stoked you mentioned, having a leaderboard. I think the idea of gamifying to, encourage and spark some growth is needed. I think, as an ecosystem as a whole, I think an area we can improve on is what I would refer to as like growth hacking. It's not just enough to put the pieces in place. It's like, how are we going to actually spark growth and drive growth? And I think with the bridge going live being imminent, I think that's a decent way to attract capital coming in from other ecosystems as well. Is
Absolutely. And
incentivizing usage.
now,
Um,
now that you speak of the bridge, just briefly, I think it's a huge opportunity to explore like a lot of new things that you can do in terms of strategies. Like, just imagine you can actually create vaults on Kadena, where you can then bridge tokens and use them in whatever strategies on other chains you can think of, and have these liquid assets as well, because why not? Kadena should have like a liquid KDA or something like that, or staked KDA, SKDA, whatever, and that as a reward rate growing in time. So I think it makes a lot of sense. It will be a very exciting time for sure.
Love it. And I know the irony in me asking for timelines isn't lost on me. For those listening, we've killed ourselves on delays and timelines a million times over. But any idea when the ecosystem and users might see some of these developments you're working on? If you can touch on that.
So this new thing that I told that I cannot say what it is, probably October will be live. Probably, and
Nice.
but I would say, yeah, this year 100%. October is our best estimation, but yeah, could be a little bit later. And yeah, also the twin pools should be up this year as well. Maybe October, November. Let's see.
Nice. That's amazing to hear. And I know you and I have talked about this many times, and for those well familiar with DeFi in general and the ecosystem, it's probably obvious. But for anyone listening that's not familiar, can you touch on the primary metrics and KPIs you'll be using to measure KDSwap success over the coming 12 to 24 months and beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's the same for every DEX and maybe even every DeFi project. You want to increase volume and total value locked, which are pretty low at the moment for KDSwap. Um, in a way, it's good because it's easy to put them up, right? It's easier to get a low number up in percentage than a higher number. Um, so we're looking at it, and of course we have our internal numbers that we want to reach in terms of volume, where we know, okay, if we reach these numbers, we will be sustainable in the future. But we don't plan to hit them like in 3 months or 6 months. So we have a goal for 1 year, very conservative goal, because I don't want to create false expectations for the team itself and for the community, of course. But as long as we see growth, that's good, right? Even if it's slow at first, I think it's good. And I'm sure once these changes hit, and if they are well received, which I hope they are, I'm sure people will flock and start using it more, and enjoying using DeFi on Kadena. We need more DeFi, more products there.
100%. And anything that maybe isn't on your immediate roadmap, but would be an exciting thing to do in the future down the road that you can touch on, that say you get the twin pools and staking pool V2 done, etc., new UI, new UX, what's next?
Yeah, I would love to set up, as I was talking, to set up these liquid staking strategies. Um, of course, this is only possible at the moment if we have a bridge. Um, I mean, technically, it would be possible without the bridge, as long as we have other DeFi options that we can use and tokens that are implementing these protocols. But with the bridge, is super not easy, but exciting to do, right? Because you have the whole world now to kind of utilize your strategy, and then there will be competition with this strategies and people wanting to get into the best one. So I would say if after this, I would probably focus on that and try to get yeah to get some TVL this way, right? So instead of you
Yeah.
having KDA stopped and in your wallet just waiting for it to go up, you can actually make use of it and stake it. Get a liquid staking token that people then can build protocols for the liquid staking token for a number of other things, and yeah, and kind of branch out into this whole new ecosystem on other chains.
That's awesome. That's super exciting. um, I guess before we wrap, is there any things on your wish list for the Kadena ecosystem as a whole? Technical pieces, anything, if you had a magic wand and you could change something or add something to Kadena that doesn't currently exist, what would it be?
Uh, if someone could build an infrastructure for AVS, like what Eigenlayer has on Kadena, that would be so awesome. Having Kadena serve as security for other chains, that would be pretty cool. Uh, I don't, honestly, I don't know the technical specs for that. I don't know if it's even possible. I'm assuming it is, because it's not like it's not magic, so it's just about building infrastructure. I don't know who could do it. It would most likely be a big project and a big team and some money involved. But that would be so awesome, to have the other chains be able to use Kadena for security.
It's awesome to hear you say that. I can't comment on things we have or have not announced that we may announce soon, but I will tease that there is something in that lane that the team has been at the very least looking at recently. That's all I'll
Oh,
say on
a lot of alpha today.
that. Not enough. I like to drop more, but it's definitely some alpha today. I think we did justice for the readers with a little, or the listeners, I should say, with a little alpha. Thank you so much for your time, man. Where, real quickly, for those unfamiliar with KDSwap and yourself and your team, where can people find out more about KDSwap? How do they get plugged in? Social channels, etc.
Yeah, so we have our Telegram, which is like our biggest social channel, I would say. People can come, ask questions anytime. We're always someone there to answer, or not always, but most of the time. And yeah, and Twitter. We're ramping up Twitter. We've been more active recently, and once developments start coming out, we'll be even more active. And we plan to, you know, get into all of these AMAs, all of these how do you call it on Twitter, the spaces, right? So yeah, Twitter and Telegram should be the place to go. I don't know if you can add links. Maybe you can add links on the description of the video or something.
I'm not
Uh,
sure. I know the Twitter, for anyone listening, it's at KDSwap on Twitter, aka X.
yeah, at KDSwap. Sorry, I'm not good at these at saying.
All good.
I guess Telegram, if you look for KDSwap, should be the first hit you get. But please be careful. If it's a bit, it might not be. So don't go and connect your MetaMask to get KDSwap or something. It's not going to work. So yeah,
Official links
just
only.
yeah, follow the at KDSwap Twitter. The Telegram link is there. So
Thank you to all the listeners and viewers for joining us today. Please go check out KDSwap, and we'll see you next time.